Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, which will look at life, the universe, and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal-ur-Rahim. In this series, I ask the question, where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my website and hit the bell icon for notification of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. In our journey down the rabbit hole of what exactly constitutes sleep, I have spoken about the stages the body goes through as it enters and leaves sleep. I have linked this to brain activity, and then I have gone on to talk about where we go when we sleep. In the case of most people, not very far. But those of us who care to, sleep can be an illuminating experience for us, not that we remember it. What we do remember briefly when we wake and vaguely thereafter is our dream sleep. And this is the topic for today's presentation. I have already briefly touched on the subject of REM sleep, rapid eye movement. I wish now to look at it in more detail. It may seem obvious, but our attention usually follows the movement of our eyes. This seems self-evident. Consciousness must be focused where the eyes are looking. Having said that, sometimes you may find yourself looking at someone or something and your eyes just glaze over. What's happening here? If we want to focus on something non-visual, we tend to defocus or close our eyes. Another interesting snippet of information. We look up to the left with our eyes when we are thinking rational thoughts. This is concrete thinking, so it involves our mental body. When we look up to the right, we are having creative thoughts, and this type of thinking is more closely aligned with our causal body. I use the word aligned because unless you are enlightened, you are not directly connected to your causal body. How does this all relate to REM sleep? Well, during REM sleep, our eyes move rapidly in their sockets, and if you look at this process, you can see that the eyes are moving alternately from looking up to the right and then to the left. What is going on here? Well, to the left, you are recalling something subjectively in your mind, and to the right, you are having creative thoughts. This results in the flickering you see during REM sleep. REM can also occur during meditation. This is considered undesirable by some, but it is a perfectly normal outcome based on what I've just told you. If during meditation your mind, being internally focused, is having a mixture of rational and creative thoughts, your eyes are bound to flicker. Study this diagram. It looks similar to the one I've already shown you. However, in the case of deep sleep, the consciousness thread is completely detached from the physical-etheric brain, so the focus of the monad has moved to one of its other subtle bodies. This is usually the emotional body. During dream sleep, the configuration changes. As with deep sleep, the physical body is asleep. The etheric, emotional, and mental bodies, however, remain active. What you notice in this second diagram is that the consciousness thread remains connected to the physical-etheric brain, even though the higher subtle bodies are not present. You could therefore conclude that if Elvis is in the building, the audience should prepare itself for a performance. Well, not quite. When the monad is in a waking state, the physical etheric body is active and the brain is externally focused. Also, at this time, the emotional and mental bodies are present to supply their inputs and make sense of the signals coming in from your senses, or being generated subjectively by your thought processes. However, when you are in a dream state, Your physical body is passive, and your physical-etheric brain is internally focused. Oh, as you can see from the diagram, your emotional and mental bodies are on vacation. As you are internally focused, you are now completely in a subjective state of mind, similar to your eyes glazing over, but this time with two of your envelopes of incarnation missing as well. So what exactly is going on here? During REM sleep, we are processing the events, emotions, thoughts, memories, and lessons we have learnt the previous day. These are all reviewed, organized, and stored in your lower causal body, otherwise known as your persona. This process can be compared to the defragmentation of a file on a computer. In this case, the file is the persona. The defragmentation process backs up the data to an external hard drive, that being the lower causal body or our persona. What the monad is doing is rapidly switching its awareness between the three units of the triad. It does this in order to organize the data. 1 minute, the focus is in the mental, and the eyes move to the left. The next moment, the information is being transferred and stored, and the eyes move up to the right. Voila! You have REM sleep. Let us define the persona for a moment as being the totality of the lower causal body and the three lower envelopes of incarnation. What is then happening during REM sleep is that vibrations within the persona, these vibrations coming from the etheric, emotional, and mental envelopes, sets up a sympathetic vibration in the lower causal envelope. This produces a permanent copy of the day's lessons and experiences. I just wish to remind you that the causal body, the lower or higher, exists on the causal plane. The lower causal body is presented as surrounding the three lower envelopes of incarnation. As they exist on the first triad, it is easy to think that this lower envelope also exists there. It does not. If it did, it would not be able to transfer any information back to the higher causal body at the end of the incarnation, when the two bodies unite. What is transferred to the higher causal body are the lessons learnt. What is not transferred are negative thoughts and emotions. They don't go away. They are stored in your permanent atoms, 48.1 and 49.1, and permanent molecule 47.4, sitting there in your subconsciousness. They are there ready to haunt you another day or in another lifetime. During this defragmentation and storage process, memories, desires, emotions, hopes, and fears are churned up in the subtle bodies and perceived by the nearby physical-etheric body. The etheric organic brain tries to make sense of all these random thoughts and feelings. It does this by compiling them into a dream. It should be noted, however, that the dreams are not the main reason for REM sleep. They are just the byproduct. Dreams also serve to provide the opportunity for intense and lingering thought forms to be quietly resolved. What determines the amount of REM sleep you need? If you have had a busy and emotional day, there will be a lot of information to process when you go to sleep. Consequently, your REM sleep will be longer than usual. This, unfortunately, reduces the time you allocate to recuperative sleep. The net result is that you wake up tired. This is why living under continual stress depletes your energy reserves until you are brought to a crashing halt by something like a bad cold, an ulcer, or something worse. The moral of the story is to realize that your energy balance is what keeps you functioning normally. And it is not just your physical activity that determines how exhausted you really are. Now, to the dreams themselves. Some dreams are random and irrelevant. Some are there simply for entertainment. Some may be distorted memories of out-of-body experiences. These memories are delivered to the physical-etheric brain from previous bouts of deep sleep in your nightly sleep cycle. What actually is a dream? Dreams are the conscious mind's, and by this I mean the monad plus the physical-etheric brain's perception of activities from one or more of its bodies. It has to be from within its bodies, as it can't be from our outside environment. You are now in subjective realms, not objective ones. So let us look at an external stimulus from the physical etheric body itself. The absence of your higher subtle bodies causes the physical etheric brain to become overly sensitive to stimuli from the body. Any physical stimuli, such as touch or sound, is blown out of all proportion in your dreams. Sleeping with your head under the duvet could lead to a dream about being buried alive. The bang from a closing door could give rise to a dream about being shot. The absence of external physical stimuli does not stop your physical etheric from delving into your memories and creating chains of thoughts. What about our subtle bodies? They may have left the building, but they are still connected to the physical etheric brain by the consciousness thread. When we are asleep, our emotions and mental bodies are free from the dampening effect of the physical body. Consequently, their sensitivity to any input is much greater. Your subtle bodies may be picking up fragmented thoughts and emotions that are randomly drifting in and out of your subtle bodies. Remember, I have mentioned that most of what we think is our own thoughts and feelings are just pollution from the general mental and emotional environment we live in. If a thought or feeling is a material object on its own plane, called an elemental, then if we emit these into the external environment, they are also capable of filtering back into our bodies. When they arrive there, they are seized upon. These are then transmitted down the consciousness thread into your physical etheric brain. Some say that the slightest sexual stimuli can transmit into the brain and cause a morning glory. I personally attribute this phenomena to a full bladder, constricting blood vessels, causing this embarrassment. This is my excuse and I'm sticking to it. I have talked about external stimuli. What about internal ones? Our frame of mind and the last thoughts that we have before going to sleep leave residual vibrations in our subtle bodies. These thoughts can influence our dreams. Our out-of-body experiences from preceding time periods of a deep sleep also leave residual vibrations which we can make into dreams. There seems to be no limit to our imagination. This is highlighted by the fact that if we receive stimuli from more than one source, we will create a dream using all the different perceptions. This can give rise to some pretty weird dreams. I mean, just what do you think you were doing with the gooseberry and why was it covered in chocolate? One thing we need to get straight right from the start is that dreams can originate from our subtle bodies and have a variety of causes. However, only people who have achieved causal consciousness are able to ascertain the right causes of a particular dream. This means only an enlightened person is able to accurately interpret a dream. There are many types of dreams. I will start with associated dreams. These are often fluid, non-sequential, and bizarre. This is especially the case if they are relating events from the emotional and mental worlds. Why should they appear so bizarre? It is because the physical etheric brain has no experience of these multidimensional worlds. This causes the physical etheric brain to delve into its own store of memories, substituting similar people, objects, and events into a timeline that in truth bears no relation to the original stimuli. Symbolic dreams are a completely different kettle of fish. They occur when our guardian angels or our higher causal body tries to tell us something. You have a problem here though. The causal world, as you should know by now, is an abstract environment. Thoughts and ideas are assembled as geometric shapes. If you only have a concrete mind available to you to interpret these images, you are not going to get very far. This reminds me of the story in the Bible where the Pharaoh has a dream about 7 fat cows and 7 thin ones. Joseph comes along and interprets this dream. Guess what Joseph must have been. Lucid dreams are interesting phenomena. Here you have a conscious perception of your dream state. This results in a much clearer dream. It is sometimes possible for you to take direct control of such a dream. How is this lucidity achieved? The brain is partly internally and partially externally focused. What we have to remember is that lucid dreams are no more real than any other dream. They are a cross between a dream and daydreaming. Just to clarify here, daydreaming is when the waking consciousness turns its focus inwards, in other words, becomes subjective. This subjective thought is happening while you are awake, hence the term daydreaming. Remember, during REM sleep, the consciousness thread is not detached from the physical etheric brain, so you are technically awake. Prophetic dreams, also called premonitions, demonstrate that the monad's meta-consciousness has a much wider range of perception than waking consciousness. Does this mean it can see into the future? Not quite. What is occurring is that the monad is extrapolating forward from existing data and predicting the most likely outcome of events. This is why prophetic dreams are so often way off the mark. The further forward the projection, the less likely it is to bear any resemblance to actual events that eventually come to pass. These dreams are rarely the investigation of the monad itself, as it is unlikely to have the capacity to project its thoughts forward that clearly. However, if the dreamer is an enlightened soul, the possibility of a more accurate perception increases. There is also the possibility that the image is presented to the monad on the causal plane by its guardian angel or a member of the hierarchy. The challenge is still to get this image back through the static of your lower envelopes and meaningfully interpreted in your physical etheric brain. You only have to read the book of Revelations to realize that such dreams can be a real can of worms. The last type of dream I wish to talk about are those that are related to past lives. The most likely candidate to have a past life dream is a child. The reason is that their subtle bodies are new. They have been freshly minted. This happens each time we incarnate until we take the third initiation, I3, and become an enlightened monad. So what makes a new set of subtle bodies more likely to give you a dream relating to a past life? The reason is that these newly minted subtle bodies are empty. They don't contain any memories yet. So, if they are empty and they contain memories of the past lives, where do these memories come from then? The answer is that these dreams are triggered by vibrations emanating directly from the Triad atoms. Remember, these are the atoms you hang on to between incarnations. They are made from tertiary matter. Therefore, they have a memory. They are stored in the causal body and reassembled in each new incarnation. They are your traits and habits. This is what a child is remembering about who they were before. If the new incarnation is occurring not long after the past incarnation terminated, the persona of the last incarnation may still be fresh in the memory of the tertiary atoms. However, as I have already said, what is stored there are your traits and habits. This is what is more likely to be remembered than a particular personality from a past incarnation. These personalities are no more. All that remains are the memories of what was learnt from that particular visit of the monad into the physical etheric realms of the planet. Another reason that children are more likely to have dreams related to past lives is that they are not so focused in their new physical bodies yet. So past vibrations are not drowned out by present ones. I have made a good start into the realms of dreams. In the next presentation, I wish to go on and look at how we remember dreams, how time gets distorted, and the reasons for sleep paralysis. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave a comment, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.